Hello and welcome to the Banter with Alex Bertsch, the 2013-2014 West Fargo High School Packer podcast. Today I am joined with Nathan Arel, and we're going to talk about the sensitivity to speech in our culture today. I'd like to start off with a story about a Texas teenager who now faces 8 years in prison for making a terrorist threat, after in February he was playing a game known as League of Legends. Now, an argument ensued with a friend of his on Facebook. The friend said something to the effect of, "Oh, you're insane, you're crazy, you're messed up in the head." To which Justin Carter replied, "Oh yeah, I'm real messed up in the head. I'm going to go shoot up a school full of kids and eat their still beating hearts." The next two lines following this comment were JK and LOL. However, Justin was put in prison and given a $500,000 bail. This is, of course, 5 times the amount given to a normal murderer. Now, Nathan, how do you think stories like these actually affect our culture today as we see it?
Well, I mean, you can obviously see what's happening here. I mean, this story came out more recently to the Sandy Hook shooting, so the woman who reported this could have been responding to some effect to that horrible situation, feeling threatened. But there's a certain level that I think people need to realize that something is simply a joke, even if it's a bad joke. If he said he was going to shoot up a school and then there was no lol JK, maybe that would be one thing. But just the fact that he puts in "and eat their still beating hearts," it brings it to this level of absurdity that we really can't consider realistic.
Yeah, exactly. I don't feel that anyone who's willing to go and say shoot up a school or commit any terrorist act is actually going to post on Facebook about how they're going to commit this terrorist act.
Yes, I mean, there is that as well.
So with this type of stuff, we see that people are responding due to their rational fears of what has been going on around them. So, but another thing that I feel threatens our speech and our freedom of speech is some of the not the policies, but the stigma surrounding bullying lately. Now, according to the StopBullying.gov website, bullying is anything that makes a person feel different or alone. Now, as I feel, this hinders my ability to say to someone that I don't like them. Nathan, what do you think about this?
Well, I mean, I don't know what situation would be absolutely necessary to tell somebody that you simply don't like them, but being able to tell somebody that you don't want somebody near them, just want them to generally go away, I believe you can say that. What I see more of a problem with is when people cannot talk casually to people who are their friends. I'm a senior male. I talk very gratuitously to my friends sometimes. We are sometimes very cruel to each other, and I have actually been scolded by teachers who overhear this kind of speech even when it was school appropriate. And I believe there has to be a level of understanding where people realize that it's simply a joke, and everybody in the party understands that.
I see what you're saying there, that there's a lack of understanding between the heads or the people handling the laws and the people handling the policies and the people that they're supposed to be protecting. There's a lack of there's a disconnect.
And even this is sort of understandable because, I mean, I guess I wouldn't know, but maybe back in their day, they simply didn't talk to each other like this, or it's mostly female administrators who usually take effect in this.
Well, with both of these types of stories, I feel that there's somewhat of a disconnect between the now older generation who grew up in the late 80s, 90s, and is now coming into their own, and the generations before them, and the generation that is just going through its progression now, this 2000s new millennium generation.
There is a definite jump between the age of the 70s and 80s and the computer age that we live in now, where everything happens so much faster. And not only that, a big point that we can make is that when you are on the internet, you can say whatever you want anonymously. People cannot even see you or see what you're saying, and this may have crossed over into the actual world where people are saying more dramatic, more controversial things out loud that the older generations are simply not accustomed to.
My theory for what's been happening here with this disconnect is that I remember counselors used to always come in and tell us, hey, don't put this on the internet because a potential employer or a potential school could see it and then say, oh, because you said this comment on the internet that was racist or misogynistic or just inappropriate in general, that means that you are not going to get the job because you said this thing. Whereas I take that and I really think that if we are to have a culture, a definite culture in our society today, we need to feel comfortable saying what's on our mind and what we want to say. That by forcing us to feel censored, which a keyboard does, it's not coming out of your brain right as you say it. You have to click the send button. You have to type it all up and look at it and reread it. So I think one of the reasons why we are losing a culture, a cultural sensibility today, is because of how much we want to censor ourselves to make sure that no one takes offense to what we say. Now, do you have any ideas on this?
Yeah, it makes me think about references to drugs and violence in schools. I mean, obviously we have these rules set in place for a reason, such as, I'm in a drawing class. I cannot draw things that are excessively violent. I cannot draw things that reference drugs or sex. But if I'm not allowed to do this, yes, I realize it's freedom of expression thing that some things don't need to be allowed in school, but really, who is being offended here? I mean, I am a senior, personally. I mean, maybe we should have specific classes for seniors. I am practically a full-grown adult. Why am I not allowed to express myself in the ways that I feel I need to?
Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying there with the disconnect between, like, our ability to express what we feel in the situations around us, because as much as it may make some people upset and as much as it is a bad thing, the culture around teens today is that drugs are a thing.
Yeah.
Drugs exist.
And we live in a real world.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're not allowed to portray the world as we see it in a drawing class, an English class, any class where assignments are open to the interpretation of the students, then are we actually learning?
Exactly. To what extent are these classes to teach us about how to express the world and how to express everything as we see it? So much so that we have to censor ourselves in art classes and in writing to feel that we won't get in trouble for what we say or draw.
Right. So, this tying back to the bullying, it almost seems along the lines of that. It seems that we're being bullied by our higher ups. We're not allowed to express ourselves the way we want to express ourselves, just like the way that bullies bring down kids and do not allow them.
In the same way that
freedom of expression.
In the same way it's a how do I want to put this? A showing of power, display of power over a weaker individual. They are using their power, the power they have over us, to coerce us into fitting between their guidelines.
I mean, not to say that they're doing this intentionally to snuff us out. I really don't know how the problem would be remedied, because when you think about it, if you do allow every single child to just display whatever they want in school, then there will be those children who simply for shock value create the most, disgusting work of art, the most disgusting assignment that they possibly can, simply because they don't like what they're doing. And the teacher is required to grade this?
Yeah. I can see what your point is there, that when people are drawing inappropriate pictures, like not for the sake of art value, but just for the sake of being inappropriate.
Right.
Where do we draw the line as far as freedom of expression goes in schools? And
frankly, freedom of expression has a lot to do with learning. I mean, it's obvious why they have set the bar at none at all as far as violence and drugs and sex goes. But that really distracted me. It's obvious why they've set the bar at not at all for drugs and sex and violence, but I think that this issue, when it has to do so much with learning, should the time should be taken to differentiate between what is appropriate and what is not, even if it takes so much more time.
Yeah. No matter how long it takes, you need to display that you are willing to help people to understand, to help expand our freedom of expression. You're willing to focus on this and figure out the solution to the problem rather than to continue to do what we've always done.
And just restrict people.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay. Well, that has been the banter for this week. I'm Alex Bertsch. If you have any comments about this week's topic, please comment on the video below. If you have any other personal comments, please tweet me at @AlexBertsch on Twitter. I'm Alex Bertsch, and this is Nathan Arel signing off.
Goodbye.